Yep, rookie mistakes. There we go. Happy Friday once again. A happy Casey Kane Friday to you and yours. I know it's Daytona 500 week. Just got out of the Super Bowl, and we are live for another, not Third Down Thursdays, Friday Night Flagship, excuse me. I'm your host, Jack Gaffney. We are live once again with Kenny. And no side this week. He had some stuff to take care of. In the most literal sense, he's getting ready to ship on out of Texas. Chapter. Yes. But Kenny, how are we doing this week?
Living the dream. You know, Olympic hockey started. The Super Bowl just ended. Spring training's about to kick off. So this is kind of my wheelhouse of the year. My favorite time of the season. Getting ready for a lot of sports. So glad to be here.
Plus, it's not quite Dad's getting ready for the Masters, which is actually not super far down the road, but it's definitely not. There's been worse times to be a sports fan than right now.
Much worse.
But speaking of bad times, this week there was a terrible happening. I don't know if you saw this. There was this big game a few days ago, Kenny. I don't know if you heard about this.
Yeah. How are we doing,
Jack? No. You're thinking of a different game.
Okay.
Folks, let's cut right to it. Boston College won the Beanpot, the most prestigious trophy in not even professional, collegiate sports. I know Kenny's big with the game with the school up north, but we're talking much bigger here. The greatest prize in college hockey. Unfortunately, Boston University could not come home with the Beanpot against BC. Fortunately, those rat fucks brought it home. But in fairness, not all that bad for BU right now. We got Macklin Celebrini going off for Team Canada. We got Jack Eichel and Brady Tkachuk on the top line for Team USA in the Olympics. But let me get to this.
You have the coolest trophy, I'll admit, or the coolest title for a trophy, right? The Beanpot. I appreciate that. I think it's cool. I think it's the biggest and best rivalry in college hockey. But you don't have the superstar right now. You don't have Gavin McKenna over there. So I don't know. Does it lose a little bit of luster not having?
Listen, bad character guy. I don't know if you've been hearing about this in the news. Bad character guy that Gavin McKenna.
I'll take the guy who stands up for his mom at a team event where a guy's being a drunk asshole any day of the week. Give me Gavin McKenna number one. And honestly, I hope my Blackhawks are there to take him at one. I think we got screwed over on the Misa and the Celebrini deal, but we still got Bedsy. So take what I can get.
I think it could always be worse, but let's actually get into the big game. The Seattle Seahawks taking home their second Super Bowl championship over the New England Patriots over the weekend, and a game that was far more about defense than offense, and much like last year was kind of uneventful at the very end, but this kind of felt like the Rams Super Bowl for me personally, in that it was way too stressful for way too long, and there was a certain point when you knew it was over. Whenever you remember those 3 straight plays where the Patriots ran Hoss juke and then they got it down in the red zone for the first time all game.
Yeah.
In that game, I knew it was over then. They were 100% going to score with Michelle. It was over. Not the strip sack where they scored, but the strip sack where they first got to May and got that first turnover. I'm like, yeah, it's over. Because again, the Pats had that score with May. That really weird 2-play drive where they chucked him down to Mac Hollins on a couple plays. Yeah, and they had that, and then they just immediately fucked it up again. But man, give credit to Seattle, man. That's a really good team. Did not make mistakes. They clearly won all 3 phases pretty handedly. The one thing I'll bring up that definitely did shock me, I did not expect them to have as much success running the ball as they did. That was kind of the one thing that I was kind of banking on the Patriots being good at stopping.
Especially with Walker in the backfield for most of those carries. Usually he's a great running back, but man, I like his style outside the tackles, but he was running between the tackles. He was running over the Patriots defense. I was not expecting that out of a Vrabel-led defense. So yeah, very shocking to see that.
Yeah, shout out to him, a very deserving Super Bowl MVP. Unfortunately, we don't live in a country that's based enough to give Super Bowl MVP to a punter. Shout out to Michael Dixon, who had an incredible game. Could you imagine that, though, if we lived in a country that was cool enough that's we're going to give the MVP of our biggest sporting event to a guy whose entire job is just punting footballs?
Or the field goal kicker, right? The Seahawks field goal kicker got 5. I think that's a record for a Super Bowl. I think, maybe it's time to give a little love to the feet in the game, but I guess not.
Listen, you get me in office in 2049, give or take. I don't know that doesn't even add up year-wise, but nevertheless, You get me in around there. I'll the second you get me in that Oval Office the January after, I'm gonna mandate it that the Super Bowl MVP has to be a guy on special teams.
The first
We're
executive
talking
order.
gunner. We're talking personal protector. We're talking anybody, literally anybody. The special teams.
Can we get the long snapper? Can we get the long snapper? Little love
long
there.
We'll get the long snapper. Yeah, you're two. We'll get the long snapper. We'll get the personal protector first.
There you go.
But no, man, seriously, congrats to the Seahawks. This is a very weird situation for me to be in because I have like no beef with like Seattle. Like I think they're a really cool team.
Yeah.
And they handled their business. They weren't assholes about anything, and they have a lot of guys that I do like. Again, Nick and Manwari, a Gaffney scouting alum, a long line of productive players out of that lineage. Of course, Talanoa Hufanga. Literally every quarterback. I actually did not do a formal on JSN. To me, Gaffney scouting is anybody I did like a formal on that I liked.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so that's like him, Talanoa Hufanga, all three of the big three from the 24 QB class. Jared Verse, Tanner Bordenili, Roger Rosengard. I got we're talking titans of our game, Kenny, that have won this award. The one thing I will say on the Patriots side, just to kind of wrap this up, it was largely an uneventful game, kind of like last year, which is kind of unfortunate. But this was probably like one of only 2 times the entire year where I can probably say the Patriots got like thoroughly outcoached. It was more so offensively than defense. And then the other was probably kind of the blueprint for Seattle defensively was the second half of the Buffalo game where they had the 21-point comeback.
Yep.
Because I don't know if you know this, Kenny, they played a ton of cover 6 in that game, which was kind of the turning point for a lot of teams being able to defend May better. Because for whatever reason, he was not good down the stretch with cover 6.
No.
Baltimore played a ton of it.
It's surprising because I feel like you can find a little bit more space on the intermediate routes, which I felt May is better at in a cover 6, and he seems to fade away once that cover 6 comes out.
Really, really weird. Because if you take out cover 6, he was one of the best quarterbacks getting zone the entire year. It was very, very weird. But I just feel like Josh McDaniels got completely pantsed in this game. Shocker. Kenny, you've known me long enough. You know I am not a Josh McDaniels fan in any way, shape, or form.
No, you're not. So do you fire him then?
No, I'm not going that far, but it's like at some point, how did you not know that May was not going to have like an abundance of time to throw? Like there were plays, like you can go back and watch a few where like Pop Douglas had some chances to make some big plays downfield, but it's like at what point do you like kind of wave the white flag and go, okay, May's not going to have like upwards of like 3 seconds to throw in a pocket. Like he's going to get instantly pressured on every play. Like there was no short game whatsoever. And I feel like they waited too long to get like Henderson involved. Like if he was like your ace in the hole, like they waited until like the fourth quarter to get him involved.
Yeah, big mistake. You could have been using Henderson for most of the game. I was very surprised that they weren't utilizing him at all. And then the other thing I was really surprised at is Will Campbell looked like a sieve in that one. Like he was getting overpowered, outmaneuvered, bulldozed. Like it was surprising to see Will Campbell that much out of his element, considering how talented he actually is.
Yeah, it was not good for him or for Jared Wilson for that matter. And you do have to kind of feel for Campbell because he was playing. We now know on a torn MCL for pretty much the entire playoff run. And he was clearly devastated. He didn't talk to the media after the game, but he did whenever the team flew back on Monday. And he was completely devastated. 14 pressures given up. That was the most by any offensive lineman in any game all year. Yeah. And again, that was the one thing I was somewhat worried about offensively is how were they, and by they I mean Wilson and Campbell, going to hold up against DeMarcus Lawrence and Leonard Williams. I figured they were going to try to isolate those two guys on those two rookies. And the answer was they got pretty much anything they wanted on those two guys. So I figured they were going to take some lumps, but they got beat on like 90% of the snaps, which is like, again, it's like if you're going to lose in the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, if you're not going to be able to make those splash plays defensively, like the Seahawks were able to do, like the Patriots got pressure on Darnold, they just couldn't get sacks.
Right.
The Seahawks were able to get sacks. They got turnovers. They were able to run the ball. and they were able to, even if they weren't scoring touchdowns, they were able to get points on the board, and at some point that's going to add up, in which it did. So, yeah, I mean, give them all the credit in the world. I know they just had the parade a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Very weird timing because I am a Supercross fan. They're running Supercross in Seattle this week.
Interesting.
And they had to basically do their loading when they get in, like, all the dirt, the plywood before they put the dirt on and all that. Literally, as the buses and like the cars were coming out of the stadium to do like the actual parade, which is very, very weird.
Yeah.
Which
the timetable on that's very tough too.
Because inside baseball, I've worked a weekend for Monster Jam, which is the same parent company as Supercross Feld. So I kind of have an idea of what a load-in looks like. And again, this is for an arena. For a stadium, that is no joke. And I know a ton of people who do work for them and kind of have to deal with that on a weekly basis. That must have been a pain in the ass to do that.
True nightmare.
Yeah, because typically you get in on like a Tuesday and you'd set up in the morning. They had to set up like in the afternoon and had to like sit through the parade, and then they basically had like to wait outside the stadium and like dump trucks and stuff until like let's go like 3 in the afternoon probably. So very weird segue, but I thought that was worth bringing up.
Definitely, yeah. It's interesting when the stadiums and you start scheduling these kinds of things, not really expecting something to happen, and then that's got to be a nightmare, logistics nightmare.
Yeah, horrible. But they got it done. They're getting ready to go tomorrow night. But like we kind of talked about at the top, it is Olympic season, and it's been pretty eventful so far. We've had I believe a speed skater admitted he was cheating on his girlfriend. I don't know if you saw this, Kenny.
No, I didn't see that one.
Oh my, no, this was so. I don't remember if he was a skier or a speed skater, but he got bronze. And in his post interview, was basically like, "Yeah, I cheated on my girlfriend." It like devastated me. I couldn't believe it. Like, why would you admit this?
I've heard wonderful stories about the Olympic Village and how promiscuous all the athletes can be. Right, to piggyback off that, apparently the Olympic Village has run out of condoms, so there's that too. Apparently they're going to have to raw dog it a little bit if they want to have their fun there. But yeah, the Olympics are an interesting.
As long as it's consensual.
Right, as long as it's consensual, let them have a little fun, and hopefully no Olympic babies or whatever. But yeah, it's been a crazy first stretch of the Olympics for sure.
So yeah, obviously hockey is obviously the big thing for, I would say, most of the people on this side of the world. Canada just had a big game, or not necessarily a big game, but a big win over the Swiss.
Two big wins so far, yeah.
Shocker again. Again, many are saying that the best hockey player in the world is from BU. That's Macklin Celebrini. He got 2 goals in a 4-1 win over the Swiss. And then I don't know if you saw this. Sam Bennett. Again, this is shocking. Sam Bennett getting in some hot water. He got away with a blatant high stick, and the neutral Swiss did not take too kindly to that. No, it was on a rush.
Oh, it was on a rush.
He was gonna, so basically, it looked like he was gonna basically truck him, and then he backed out the last second, and he high sticked him like reflexively. Which I'm not. If there's one guy I'm not giving the benefit of the doubt to in hockey, it's Sam Bennett. It's just not. You absolutely meant to do that.
He's a bit dirty, yeah. Him and Marchand are the 2 guys I never give any leeway to.
Bro, and they have him and Tom Wilson on that team in Canada. Yeah, Jesus Christ! But
I think they could have benched one of them and brought on Bedard, but apparently we need to have a couple of enforcers. I get it, that's fine, because USA is bringing their enforcers to the game. So
I get that from the standpoint of like you do need kind of like your role players. Like remember on the Olympics, the Olympic basketball team, they didn't really play a ton of Jason Tatum, but they had some of these guys like Derek White and guys that I don't feel like they're there for a certain reason.
Right.
It's kind of like that with like Tom Wilson and Sam Bennett. Like they're there for what they do, which is obviously get on the people's skin and ride that thin line, which I get, obviously. Is it ideal?
You need it.
Exactly, you do need it. As much as dirty as Sam Bennett is, and I hate Sam Bennett as much as any pro athlete that breathes oxygen on this earth today, but nevertheless, I feel like I'm going to say something crazy. Nevertheless, United States, meanwhile, they played Latvia yesterday. I believe it was a 5 5-1 victory.
5-1 victory over Latvia. I'll fully admit, paused my class middle of the session, and we decided to turn on the game because we have to watch. We got to teach,
That's right,
got to
Kenny.
teach the youth. Got to show them the greatest sport in the world. And it was just, and they were completely floored at how fast it moves, how different the game actually appears. Because a lot of my students are soccer students, right? So they know the world
Really?
stage for the World Cup. Yeah, most of my students are actually soccer, transplants from Europe. So I had a lot of soccer heads there. But yeah, we showed them hockey, and that they were floored. The pace of the game, how quick that Hughes goal was. It's really fun to watch it. So they did a fantastic job yesterday. USA, I think they dominated. They started a little slow, but I think that's almost every Olympic go around. You start just a little slow. They had the 2 disallowed goals in the first period, but they came roaring back. They looked electric from the first line to the fourth line. So it's going to be my 2 front runners are Canada and the United States. I think personally, hate to admit it, but I think Canada pulls away with the gold in this one.
They'll probably find the way. To be perfectly honest, they always do. I mean, they're stacked with skills.
Right. When your third line is led by Crosby, one of the all-time greats. I mean, line 3 is Crosby. And then I looked at the statistic, or not the statistic, but the lineup for their power play, their first power play. I mean, that's loaded. You got McCarr.
They have
I mean, you got
Macklin Celebrini and
McDavid.
Connor McDavid on their top line.
Yeah, I mean,
You
that's
have
just
maybe the 2 best
insane.
hockey players on the planet right now on the same line, with a complete goon in Tom Wilson.
Right.
Playing right wing, which is insane.
Right. And then you got McKinnon on your second line. I mean, you look at that Canadian roster, and it is just stacked from stem to stern. And I don't know how you get away from it. I don't know how you figure out a way to get past all of that talent for 3 periods. They're going to get you. It's just a matter of when.
Exactly. I think the United States probably has them on goaltending, but even then, it's like we saw it in the 4 Nations. It didn't matter.
Right. Yeah. Well, because Binnington put up the 4 Nations tournament.
Speaking of fucking hockey players, I fucking hate. This fucking I fucking hate.
Listen, I hate the Blues, so I hate Binnington too. I hate Binner, but listen, he's talented, but he's streaky, and he streaks at the right time. So he streaks for the 4 Nations tournament. He might get hot in the medal round, but like you said, if Canada's putting up 5-6 goals a game, what else do you have to worry about? You can give up. Benny can give up 3, and it'll be fine.
Fuck you, Jordan Binnington. I hate you. Until the day you leave this earth, I promise you.
And fuck the St. Louis Blues.
It's not even fuck the St. Louis. It's fuck the 2019 Blues.
For me, it's fuck the St. Louis Blues. As a Blackhawks fan, they're our second biggest rival. They're the ones that we still play consistently. We don't play Detroit anymore, so fuck the Blues.
Yeah, I hate that they got rid of that rivalry. Like, they had to move Detroit East with the Jets coming
move
back.
the Blackhawks to the East so that we can play all of the original 6 consistently. Like, we're the only original 6 team. And it makes sense because we're east of the Mississippi still. So, I mean, I don't get it. NHL, get your shit together. Add your 2 more teams, get to 34, put us back, and give us an original 6 division for all I care. And let us play all the original 6 consistently. That could get
chaotic very quickly, but that would probably be very fun.
But you'd have a ton of great matches, especially when the original 6 are all firing on all cylinders. I know the Blackhawks are rebuilding, retooling, but once we get back to it, it'll be a fun matchup.
Surprisingly, the team that's probably going to ruin that, or that would ruin that right now, is the Maple Leafs. I think they had like a kind of a winning streak, but I think they're like bottom 8 in the league right now. Believe it or not.
Yeah, I think at best they're fighting for a wild card slot right now, which is surprising when you look at that roster. And you talk about goaltending being the only issue. It's actually Wall and Stolarz is actually a really good combination in that. It's just for some reason their talent level is not matching the expectations. They lost Marner, I get that, but there was no way Marner was the.
Why would happen? Surely the Toronto media didn't run him out of town.
No, not at all. They didn't brutalize the hometown kid. No.
No.
They would never do that.
No.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe we got a little curse of the Bambino with Marner there.
No, they got the curse of Ballard. They've had the curse of Ballard for like 50 plus years.
50 years. Well, now you've got an addition to that, so it'll keep going for a bit longer, I suppose.
I just hate that the captain of the United States national team is the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Can you talk about like worse bad juju.
Right.
Like in any way. That's like if we had a national football team and the captain was like, I don't know, who's the best player in the New York Jets?
Oh, well.
That isn't
No.
Garrett Wilson. I like Garrett Wilson. Like someone who's not Garrett Wilson.
I would say Garrett Wilson. I mean, I don't know. They traded their two best defensive players.
Like Jamie Sherwood was like the captain of Team USA. Like that's the vibe that I get. Like we can't have that.
Or Brees Hall, maybe. I don't know.
He's gonna be on the way out. We might talk about him in a little bit here, actually, because
True.
I say we get right into it. We're doing so yesterday I came out with my own first full round mock draft. That's in the link in the description on the YouTube side if you're watching there. But time to do our show's first mock draft of the cycle. Now, there's only we're gonna have 3 people, so we're still gonna do a way to determine the draft order. We're doing it in a very fun way. I didn't know I'd tell Kenny about this at all, but this is the honorable way to decide a draft order. This is reasonable. This is morally, ethically sound. This is the 100-yard dash. As you can see right here, I'm going to start the rush, and whoever wins first is going to get the odd numbers.
Okay.
And whoever loses will get the evens. Here we go. I'm up top. Kenny is down below, and we are off.
It's about as fast as I run in real life.
Yeah, this is actually very realistic for me. I'm going to be perfectly honest. Now I'm
surprised I have this much of a lead.
What the hell?
Oh, watch! I'm gonna fade down the stretch. Watch it.
Listen, God willing.
There we go.
Come on.
My high school coaches are laughing because that's pretty much I would sprint and then I would have to
go.
There it is. You're gonna catch it.
Yes. Wait, I gotta get all the way across. Wait. Yes. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. See that? That's exactly. This is what we do. This is what we do here.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would say that was scripted, but
no. Listen, stop the count. Many have said stop the count. And now we're gonna get to the PFF machine, as you can see here. So I'm gonna be starting first. So I really only get 15 picks here instead of 16. Because pick one, I think I could. Kenny, you and I can agree here. This is very obvious what the Raiders are gonna do here. They're going to take Fernando Mendoza. Yeah, you have to. You brought in Clint Kubiak, who I think was a great hire, obviously. And you take the 6'5" quarterback who is a big body quarterback, not super mobile like a guy like a Drake May is, or even a Jane Daniels. A little bit more slim, but a bigger guy. But makes great decisions with the ball. He moves pretty well in the pocket. Great arm. And I mean, you saw it this year. He's a winner.
I wish he would go to a team where he could sit on the bench for a season. Just give him a season to get used to the speed of the game in the NFL. I feel like going to Las Vegas, you're going to throw him to the Wolves right away. And with that offensive line, I think he might be in some trouble. I think he'll survive. I think he'll end up being a really good quarterback in the NFL because he has that dedication. He wants to get better every day. But man, I wish every quarterback in this class was given the opportunity to sit on the bench for just a little bit so that we don't have another Justin Fields type situation. But ultimately, Mendoza should be the first pick.
Yeah, 100% should be the first pick. He might not be a top 10 grade guy for me. I am going to do a formal report on him at some point, but he's not super far off. I think I'm probably going to have him. If I just had the guesses, because I've seen a lot of him this year in passing, obviously.
Yeah.
Probably a little higher than Cam Ward. So if he's a little higher than Cam Ward, he's probably going to be like a late first, mid first, which is still pretty good. And obviously, I had a late first like Cam Ward last year, and he went first overall. And I don't think anybody at this point would be like, that was a bad pick.
No, I think the Titans got that one right. I don't disagree with it. But I also don't disagree with your putting him in that spot, too, because I think that, Cam Ward, to me, even though he's a little bit older, I still think he's a development. I think you need to push him into a scenario where he can develop into a talented quarterback. And again, Tennessee is not that location right now. They have a slightly better offensive line, in my opinion, than the Raiders, but that kid still needs a lot of help.
And I'll say this about Cam Ward. He went through a lot of lumps this year. He played a lot of really good pass rushes, and he got sacked a ton. But I thought as he went along, he got better, and I'm excited about him in the future.
He showed improvement each week, or most weeks he showed improvement. I think there were a couple of weeks where he may have taken a step backwards, but like you said, he's going up against some of the most elite defenses right now. I mean, the Jaguars were a surprise for me at defense, but playing them twice in that season, that's a brutal match.
Jags twice, Texans twice. He had to play the Rams pretty early, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Like there were some really good defenses, and he had to like take his lumps. And then he ended up. I know it was obviously they were obviously not a playoff team by that point. He beat a Spags defense in his rookie year.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So shout out to Cam Ward. He's not a fan of me. But Kenny, you are up now with the Jets, who I had this down in my block. They could do anything here.
Anything, right? You can do anything. And I think, honestly, I think what they might do, I think they might trade down, but I know that's not what we're doing for this one. Yeah, having gotten rid of Williams, which I know is he's an up the middle defensive player, but I feel like you need somebody on the defense. If you're rebuilding and retooling like the Jets have to do, I'm gonna say Arvell Reese.
I thought you were going to go Caleb Down. Arvell Reese is a guy who fascinates me, and the reason he fascinates me is, correct me if I'm wrong, he's about 240 pounds, right?
Yeah. He's a little bit on the lighter side.
A little bit on the lighter side. He's not really a full-time edge. My big worry with him is that I feel like there's going to be a number of teams that are just going to be like, we like the idea of Arvell Reese. We don't know if we like him, but we like the idea of a guy who's kind of, a tweener. Not like, like he's not like Isaiah Simmons in that sense that he's like a safety, defensive back, linebacker hybrid. We're talking like an edge linebacker hybrid. So like, this isn't a perfect one-to-one, but like a Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons was kind of a tweener a little bit.
Right.
And like
I think
Carter.
I think the Jets are in that position now where they might be willing to experiment a little bit, might be willing to see what they can do on defense. And if you like the concept of a guy, then you go with the guy. And I think that's where you might see Arvell Reese being taken by the Jets. I honestly, in reality, in April, I really do think the Jets end up trading down. I think they go back a couple spots to reevaluate, build up some capital, and maybe get a quarterback later in the first round. Because I think that there's enough quarterbacks here, but there's also enough quarterbacks that you can take later on and still be very happy with the outcome. But I think Arvell Reese, and I know Downs, I just don't know if the Jets are going to prioritize the safety in Downs when you ultimately, I think you need a cornerback after giving up Garner, right? So I don't think Downs is the play for them. I would love to see Downs go early. I anywhere but Cleveland, if I'm being honest. But yeah, I think Reese is a very intriguing move at 2 for me.
And unfortunately, it's kind of piggyback off that Downs point. I don't think anybody in the NFL is cool enough to take a safety in the top 5, even though he's clearly the best player in this draft. That's all cool. It's all good. Now the Cardinals are on the clock. This is a interesting team in the sense that I have no clue what they're going to be looking like at quarterback this year and especially in the next year. But the one thing I do like about this team is they made a point to go after and attack the trenches last year. They signed Josh Wetzel, I think close to like a $20 million a year deal. They bring in Walter Nolan, who didn't play a ton this year, but I think some may remember that Cowboys game on Monday night where he was clearly one of the best guys on the field. He had a couple sacks and like 4 or 5 pressures. So obviously you feel really good about those 2 guys. Why not build on your strength? Why don't you bring in a guy like Ruben Bain, who I would say is at worst the 3rd best player in this class. Unreal motor.
Yeah.
He was clearly the best player on a Miami team that was not super far off of winning a natty. But obviously, Akeem Mesidor on the other side was really good as well. But Bain is, to me, he has like a Will Anderson-esque motor. I know the arm size. Yeah, there's concerns about the arm size. I know there's some people who think he could probably kick inside. But even if you kick him inside, like this is clearly like the kind of ass kicker on like right on the ball that I think every team would kill for. Every team would kill to have a guy like Ruben Bain.
Yeah, and Ruben, he impressed me every step of the way this season. Every time I ended up catching a Miami Hurricane game, including the Ohio State playoff game, it was just
that game.
He looks unreal. He looks unstoppable. He looks like sometimes a man possessed. I really like what he's able to do. And I think if the Cardinals did go for him, even though they may not necessarily truly need that at their position where they're at in the draft, I think that would be a smart move because you can't go wrong with defensive linemen. I think, you never know what's going to happen and you never know what kind of speed you need on defense, what kind of power you need on defense. And yeah, if the Cardinals are about to be in a full rebuild, then you want to stock up on defense and make sure that you're able to at least keep the games closer, right? So I think that makes sense.
So yeah, I'm very excited about Ruben Bain. If he falls, it's probably because of the arm length, but I think he's an unreal football player. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Kenny, you're back on the clock with the Titans at 4. Who I know PFF has him down as getting a wide receiver. I actually like the 2 later round guys they brought in this year, Alec Ayomanor and then Chimere DK, who actually were pretty nice contributors for them this year. Now I don't think they're like superstars, and maybe you added another receiver, but I thought those 2 guys were good for them.
So I think, and again, this puts them in a very interesting position. Like you said earlier, is anybody really looking at a running back in the top 5? So again, do we hear the Titans trading down out of the top 5, again, building up a little bit more capital and then going after a super talented running back, which they need. They need some run support for Cam Ward. You also need to be able to throw the rock to somebody. Excuse me. And instead of being a homer, I'm not going to go Carnell Tate. I'm going to go, seems risky to me, but I'm going to go Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State.
So Jordan Tyson is my number 1 receiver as of right now, but that does come with a massive caveat that he had a complete knee tear in 2023, ACL, MCL, PCL, and then, of course, last year, this is the big story for them when they were in the college football playoffs. He has the collarbone break, which takes him out of the game against Texas. If he's in that game versus Texas, I think they probably win that game, if I'm being perfectly honest. But
and I can tell you, if I wasn't a homer, if I wasn't Ohio State through and through, I would have thrown Carnell Tate into this mix. I know you have Tyson as your number 1 receiver. Those injuries scare me to death.
And I don't know if you saw my mock. I had Carnell Tate as the first receiver off the board exactly for the injury concerns with Tyson.
Right. And I think when you look at what Carnell Tate does, one, he is a perfect role player at Ohio State because he immediately fell into line because Jeremiah Smith was the next ultimately superstar receiver off the heels of Harrison Jr. being the superstar receiver. And Carnell Tate took that in stride, wasn't upset about any reps, wasn't upset about the playing time. So I like him as the ultimate teammate, as the ultimate go-to guy for receiving. Plus, he can catch and run and do anything you ask him to, and he's super fast. I love the kid. I think he's got a great future ahead of him. I didn't want to go Ohio State because I know I'm going to get flack from Bruce on that one, so had to go with Tyson.
No, listen, there's a ton of good Ohio State guys in this draft. Listen.
There is.
Listen, I'll
have for next year as an Ohio State fan, but this year it's looking very good in the draft.
Very, very good. So I am now back up with the Giants, who, to be frank, I was not a big Jackson Dart guy last year. He kind of, I don't want to say completely proved me wrong, but I thought he was a more than serviceable quarterback for them. And obviously you had Scatabo, who was very nice up until he got hurt. And of course, I mean, who really knows what that offense would have been if Malik Neighbors didn't get hurt like immediately. It was like week 6 he got hurt in the game against the Chargers. Yeah. But again, kind of one of the sneakier free agents across the league this year is Wan'Dale Robinson, who I believe Spotrac has him down as a market value of like $17.5 million. But of course, with the Giants, I think obviously you go immediately to the offensive line. Evan Neal's obviously hasn't been starting for them in a very long time, but he's on an expiring deal. Jermaine Illuminor, who is their starting right tackle, on an expiring deal. So we're going to go down to our guy here, Spencer Fano, who is my top tackle as of this point out of Utah. New York Giants. I like him a little bit more than Maioga out of the U. Both of them kind of have the small arms concerns. But I mean, we saw it for the most part this year with Will Campbell, where that isn't like a death sentence.
Right. And that's what I was going to say. I think Fano is the one that can overcome the small arm allegation, quote unquote. Um,
I,
yeah,
I like I
he's
like Malioga,
extremely
to be
awesome.
fair. I don't want to take a stock out like Malioga. I think he's a good prospect.
Oh, for sure. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with either of them. I think that's a one A kind of situation. I put Fano a little bit ahead in these terms, just because of his. I think he's a little bit more dynamic. I also think you might be able to, if you need to, move him on the offensive line. I don't know if you can move. Can't I struggle pronouncing his Magiola. I think Fano is probably the better pick for me.
And with that, you're up next at number 6 with the Cleveland Browns. Kind of in the same vein as the Jets. They can do a lot here, but of course, I believe they have 4 starters on the offensive line, all hitting free agency, and they're in the negative for the cap. So,
Yeah, this
do with
is a
that
tough.
information what you will.
This is a tough pick. And the first thing I saw, and I was devastated by this, was that Caleb Downs was going to go to Cleveland, and I'm like, I just don't. You already have.
I had Caleb Downs going to Kansas City.
Oh, really? Okay, a few picks later. Interesting. And I feel like Ohio State players go into Cleveland to end their career. Like they for some reason you get to Cleveland and it just isn't working out. Judkins had a pretty good season last year.
You say that about anybody.
Well, true. Okay, true. But it's more devastating when the Buckeyes go there. How about that?
Fair enough.
Um,
Fair enough.
yeah, okay. So I think ultimately I'm going to go offensive line on this one too. I think when you start to look at it, like you said, you've got 4 offensive linemen hitting the free agency market. You need to pare down the roster. It would probably be easier to go after, um, a lineman that can actually do some work for you, but also keep things at bay in terms of that salary cap issue, the impending salary cap issue. Um, I know on your PFF it's got guard and tackle, so I'm gonna go guard. I'm gonna go Emmanuel Pregnan out of Oregon.
Manuel Pregnant. See where he's at.
Yeah, it's probably not very high. You're
I
probably gonna
guess
have to
name
do
wrong.
some. Let me get it real quick. Emmanuel
I think it's
EM.
not a great time if he's not on this.
I know, I know. I can switch it up to a tackle. Like I can do tackle. That's fine. Because then we can
I
go
mean,
Maggie.
there are some tackles here who could kick in at guard, to be fair.
Yeah. So let's go Mag. Can't get his name right. Magyala.
Maui
Malioga.
Maui Goa. Yeah.
Maui go. Okay, I see it now. Maui go. Let's go Maui go. Let's make your life easy. I don't think that it's the perfect. I think they need a guard. I don't know if if he goes into guard as well as like Fano would have, but yeah, I think that's a solid pick. You need the offensive line. You need some help on anchor too. So it's decent and it's not downs, and I'm happy about that. So
You could realistically argue that all 5 spots on the Browns' offensive line are all up for grabs, if we're being completely frank. So I think he can realistically play in 4 different spots. He could probably play, for all we know.
at this point, are they talking to Joe Thomas about coming back, making a comeback tour at all? Because I mean, they need the help. So
I mean, I don't know how much worse he'd be than Cam Robinson was this year for most of the season.
you can't do a whole lot worse than what the Browns were out there.
Washington's a fascinating team because, again, they have a ton of older guys. I want to see them get younger. So this is a case where I'm going to go right back to what I did in my own mock draft, and because I think it would be sick. Even if you keep Bobby Wagner, you need to get younger at linebacker eventually. When I take a 6'5" converted safety, give me Sonny Styles for the Washington Commanders.
That. I like that
This
a lot.
kid has freaky coverage range, and obviously, all you have to do is watch him, and you realize, oh yeah, this kid was definitely a safety. Really good tackler.
Converted safety.
Yep. He was 4-star recruit as a safety, Kenny?
Yes, I believe he's a 4-star recruit. Comes into Columbus immediately, impresses everybody on the defensive side of the ball. By his senior year, he gets the block O, which is, if you don't know, Ohio State awards the number 0, which in their number system looks like a giant block O, to their ultimate leader of the team. So he comes in.
So it's like 18 for LSU. Got it.
Yeah.
And
he was unbelievably talented. He's done so much on and off the field in Columbus. He ends up being a convert safety to linebacker, does some tremendous things, then helps recruit his brother to transfer to Ohio State, which really helped shore up the defense too this season. So I think I can't speak highly enough of Sonny Styles. his leadership component, like you said, his ability to coverage, and he's a nasty hitter too. He'll get into the trenches. He'll hit anything he needs to hit to get that ball out. He's a wrecking ball in there, and I'd love that pick for Washington. I think they're going to do tremendous with him.
I'm very high on Sonny Styles, much like but most of the guys out of Ohio State this year. To be perfectly honest, I think they have a really good group coming into the league.
Oh, for sure.
But back to you, Kenny, here with the Saints, who kind of, I don't want to say lucked into a potential franchise quarterback, but definitely have a guy you should feel good about in Tyler Shough.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised at him too. I wasn't expecting a whole lot out of that pick, but he seems to be the guy. Now you need people. You need to get him able to throw the ball to people, and you've got Olave. And I think now is the time. We're going to go back to back Buckeyes. I think now is the time you take Carnell Tate. I think if he falls to the 8th spot, I think that's a perfect landing spot for him. Again, feeds off of the abilities of Olave. You get a lot of talent out of there. Just like I said before, tons of speed, catches everything that's thrown to him. He flies under the radar because he had Harrison. He had a lot, I think he did have Olave with him too. He has all of that. Now you've got a back-to-back receivers in New Orleans. I think it's a scary situation.
I mean, you would have him, you would have Olave, you have Jawan Johnson, who has been kind of a very under the radar good tight end for them for the last few years. And Taysom Hill's going to be gone, so maybe things will finally start getting better for New Orleans here at long last. Now, unfortunately, we have hit Kansas City, and I think this is just kind of out of principle what I have to do. I'm going to give them Jeremiah Love, who is. I don't think he's a better prospect than Ashton Jeanty. I think he's a more all-around prospect. And that, obviously, if you don't know, he was a wide receiver in high school. Obviously made the jump to running back. I think teams are going to be able to do some things with him akin to what the Rams were doing. Not at the very end, but like at the peak of Todd Gurley, where they could split him out and have him play against an actual receiver. And he's obviously a big home run hitter. But he's a scary, scary pass-catching target. And obviously, they need that as well as another running back. This is, like, when you talk about taking running backs this high, it has to be like a certain tier of running back. And keep this in mind, I hate Notre Dame. I hate the concept of Notre Dame. For me to have Jeremiah Love in this class kind of speaks volumes about my character. I got no bias here, none. But nevertheless, I think Jeremiah Love is dynamite. I think he's going to be a really good player. And just be prepared to have him high in your fantasy rankings going into the summer. I think he's
for sure.
He is.
I think it's a perfect pick for Mahomes, right? Because you can run him out on flats and screen passes. You can get him out in the open spaces, and also, and if you get right, you get him into the slot. But also, if he can get through a gap between the tackles, he is off to the races too. He's another one that he's got a ton of speed once he hits the line of scrimmage, and then he's got a amazing ability to stay on his feet throughout the entire run. He always moves forward as he's getting tackled. So the Chiefs get out a real talented player in this one. And I think that's great at the 9 spot for them. I'm not going to say that that's going to turn the program around real quick, but they're definitely on the right track with that move.
Really good hurdler too. I've seen no shortage of hurdling highlights out of Jeremiah Love.
It's reminiscent of Ohio State Ezekiel Elliott. You know, he didn't do quite the same amount of agility in Dallas, but when he was in Columbus, Ezekiel Elliott, I mean, he was recruited as a track athlete and as a football player.
Really, I didn't know that part.
Yeah, I think his mother was also a track superstar. So he had a ton of innate ability coming out of college or coming out of high school into college, and then obviously college to pros. I know he didn't showcase that as much at the professional level, but he did a great job. And I think
Ezekiel Elliott, never forget.
There you go.
Always have 23 for 2020.
Yeah. He was good. He was good in New England too. That kind of rejuvenated his career.
Yeah, like one half decent season. Like, yeah, I think I'm all set.
Right.
But I think we get a couple more picks in here, and we'll get to our guy Jeff Vertepney for the first time tonight. But Kenny, you're up next with the Cincinnati Bengals.
Now, the Bengals, if they're smart, find an offensive lineman to help keep Joe Burrow upright. But are the Bengals ever smart? The answer is no. The answer is they never really go after offensive linemen, especially in the draft. They've had a couple of decent picks throughout the years. They've had a couple of decent guys throughout the years, but we're not keeping Burrow upright. We're going to shore up that secondary, and we're going to go Caleb Downs.
Caleb, I think this is the dream pick, I feel like, if you're the Bengals. Again, there's no guarantee it happens.
That far? Ooh.
And of course, this league is just one big group of cowards who just seemingly refuse to take safeties in the top 10. But again, if this league is smart and their act has kind of gotten collectively better, Caleb Downs in a normal league does not make it out of the top 5.
No.
There's not a single thing he does bad.
In my opinion, right? Because I know this is a quarterback-driven league, this is a point-scoring-driven league. But in my opinion, and this is not me being a homer at all, I would be saying this if he was still in Tuscaloosa.
I think I know where you're going. I think I agree with it.
He is the best player in this draft. He is, in my opinion, the number one. He should be the number one overall pick. The reality of this league is that that's not what's going to happen. And so the number 10 slot is probably his true number 1. That's probably the first time that you're going to see a team. Again, if there aren't a lot of shakeups and pre-draft trades, I think the Bengals are the first real shot where you get the accurate pick correctly. And if that's the case, if he falls to 10, which he may even fall further than that, the Bengals will be one of the luckiest teams in this draft, and you'll be able to build your defense around him for years. I think, I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it. I think he's a generational type safety. I think he's going to be that kind of guy for any team that drafts him, and the Bengals will be happy to have.
I think he's really good around the box. Again, you look at a lot of the teams that were making it farther than others in the postseason this year. You look exactly with the Seahawks with Nick and Mamori. Obviously, he's not a safety. He's obviously more of a corner, but like Marcus Jones for the Patriots, who's really good down, in the slot or as a slot defender. Jalen Petrie for the Houston Texans, kind of the same thing. They didn't really use him a ton, but in theory, Jahdae Barron for the Denver Broncos. I don't know why they didn't really use him as much, but that's what it surprising. Is. Yeah, I liked him a ton coming out of Texas, but nevertheless, folks, a lot of these guys, let's be frank, they're going to need some, what's the word? Insurance, I think is the term, Kenny, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they're going to need a lot of insurance, a lot of help. Keep them safe.
Oh, no, we can help them with that.
I think our guy can help them.
Yes, sir. Our guy, Jeff Retepney, needs to help you out with some good home insurance.
Erie Insurance says here's to the grown-ups who move, mortgage, mow, and still bust a move. But does your home insurance still fit? Erie helps you protect the home you've grown into, all at fair prices that are often less than the other guys. So how do you find the right coverage? Magic. Nope. Local independent agents who get to know you like this.
Your local Erie agent is Building Block Insurance Group. Get a quote today at 704-464-4544.
Erie Insurance.
Shout out to our guy, Jeff Retepney, forever and always. And just like that, we're getting right back into the things here with the Miami Dolphins, who, kind of with the Cardinals, could be looking very different at quarterback going into the season, and obviously in the season, because obviously you never know what happens or it's going to happen with Tua. Obviously with injury, which sucks to say, but it just kind of is the reality of it. And, maybe it gets benched. But that being said, there's also the grim reality that Tyreek Hill, gruesomely broke his leg like week 5 of this year. Your secondary is not particularly all that strong, and you obviously lost Jalen Phillips in the trade deadline. So again, kind of another team where I could see them doing a number of different things, but I'd say you keep it simple here. I'd say you get the best corner in this draft and get yourself Mansour Delane out of LSU.
Ooh. Okay.
Silky smooth corner. Not as big as a guy like Gonzalez or Pastor 10. I think it's probably gonna end up at around 190 and 5'11. But
okay. Yeah.
Really
I
good
see
mover,
that.
hyper productive around the ball. And obviously you think of the LSU lineage with defensive backs. I think this is a guy you would feel very, very good about taking.
Absolutely. I think that's the right move for the Dolphins. The height kind of scares me, but not really. I mean, at 5'11", that shouldn't be too much of an issue as long as he's got the wheels to keep up in the secondary against any sort of coverage or with any sort of coverage. So, Yeah, I actually like that pick a lot. I think that's a smart move on their part, especially if, because the Dolphins could probably also use a guy like Caleb Downs. So I think, if he Downs ends up slipping further and further, then the Dolphins might be looking at him. But based on what we've got going down the ladder, yeah, I think that's a smart move for them. Real smart.
What? Who's this? Who's this guy? I'm out of here. Oh, brother, I got some. Oh, just wait against the Bears. I got to do a soundbite for you, Bruce. You're gonna love this. Kenny, you're up next with the Cowboys.
So yeah, I mean, you got to scratch your head with the Cowboys. What exactly are the Cowboys doing? What direction are they trying to go in?
There is no direction.
Yeah, I know, and that's the scary part. I think that's the tough part about having it's like a wild card kind of situation, right? Like I feel like I can almost take out a dartboard, throw the dart, and just wherever it lands, it lands. I'm not too high on any other running back besides Jeremiah Love this high in the draft. So
yeah, I think a running back here would be a big mistake.
It'd be a big mistake, right? So I'm going to go David Bailey. I'm going to go edge rusher, home state. Jerry Jones loves his Texas Tech guys. I think that's the smart move. I think it's an easy, smart move. Is that what the Cowboys do though? Who knows? Cowboys they take flyers all the time. They may end up drafting a wide receiver. You don't really know with that team.
Kenny, I have great news for you. There are already character concerns coming out about David Bailey.
So
you think Jerry Jones doesn't give a fuck?
That guy is perfect for DFW. Let me tell you.
Perfect. You're telling me the guy who signed Greg Hardy willingly doesn't have a problem with David Bailey? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So
well, I'm glad at that pick. That isn't as much of a flyer then, is it?
No. So this is one area where I actually kind of want to explore a different avenue. So in my mock, I had the Rams here taking Mekhi Lemon at 38. Okay. I want to go in a different direction because I forget his name. I feel horrible about it, but they just brought in Tennessee's cornerback coach to, I think, effectively run the same position for them and out in LA. So there's some risk here, but there's some really good tape on him from 2024. German McCoy to the Los Angeles Rams, who, again, did not play at all this year due to a torn ACL. Correct me if I'm wrong, he got hurt in that Ohio State game.
He did.
Yeah, and he did not play at all in 2025, but, again, very physical corner. Again, the lack of tape might hurt him, but I think if like the 23, but I think he's still probably going to end up going worst case scenario top 20, but I think but now that there's a team where there's a connection, I could maybe see a team like the Rams feeling a bit better about taking him than not.
Yeah, I can see it. I like the move. It's a bit of a gamble here. I figured he was 20 to 25 range in my head originally thinking about this. The not a ton of tape in this season, if any, is a scary factor. That immediately screams not taking him in the top half of this first round. But what he was able to show last year, all the way up until the Ohio State game, I mean, he got injured and he got schooled a little bit in that game, but that was a tough situation. You don't go into Columbus at night in December. Like, it never happens. So that was a tough one.
You especially don't do it warming up in no shirts.
Yeah.
How'd that work out for you, Tennessee?
Yeah, it was a bit more embarrassing than I think they were planning it would be. Plus, they were kind of shimmering. It looked like they were putting some solutions on themselves, maybe to keep themselves a little bit warmer than here. So
that's a crazy phrase in general, but I got what you're saying.
I don't want to immediately lead allegations out there, but it appeared that they were a little phony there, Tennessee. But you got to try what you got to try to get past Ohio State, and it didn't work. But I like him. I think he's got a ton of potential, and I think that's what you're doing. If you're the Rams, you're taking the potential. You're not taking the proven factor. So again, maybe the Rams trade down and still take him a little bit later on, but it's a decent pick. I think if he would have played it all this season, I think that's absolutely the right spot for him.
And now we're back to you, Kenny, with the Ravens, who I'm so happy to say every year, without fail, they'll manage to take a guy that I am head over heels over. Last year was Malachi Starks. A few years ago with Tyler Linderbaum, who's going to be a free agent and probably get like $20 million somewhere. Just looking through the board, I don't think there's that kind of a guy. But of course, in reality, it will happen. It always happens without fail. And I'm dreading it. I will lose sleep over it. But who do you have him taking here at 14?
So I think there's a couple things you can't really go wrong with right now. Personally, and again, this is going to sound like a homer move, but they need help on the interior defensive line. And McDonald out of Ohio State makes all the sense in the world. But if the Rams take McCoy, that should leave the whole situation open to get a guy like Mekhi Lemon, who I love out of USC. I think he's a ton of talent over there. I just wish that he really had a better, I don't want to say quarterback situation, a better offensive situation, let's say, to help showcase all of that talent, because he looks like a future stud in the NFL. I think that's the safe pick for the Ravens. If the Rams don't pick him, I think that's the safe pick for them. But I think the better potential pick would be McDonald. But again, homer, and I'm going to bring a lot of that to this table because that's what I watch the most of.
Oh, listen, that's all good.
But I think Lemon's the perfect pick for this. Again, you're already starting to see a ton of receivers leave the board, and ultimately he might be a safer pick than Tyson overall. And Carnell Tate's not going to be there at 14, 15 anyways, so this is a good spot.
You want to know who Mekhi Lemon kind of reminds me of? And this is obviously not a perfect one-to-one, but just stylistically, and where I think he could go as a player. You want to know who he reminds me of?
Let me know.
Jackson Smith-Njigba.
Okay. I see it.
I think he's a guy who's probably going to start off as a primary slot guy. Once he gets his feet wet for a couple of years, you're going to probably see him on the boundary more often than not. And I think he's going to be a really good player. I think his route running is outstanding. What jumped out to me, his ability to work on outbreakers was spectacular. Without doing a little bit of light research. He is awesome, this kid. And
I like his footwork. I like his his route running, like you said. I like his ability to get a little bit of distance too. That's very surprising what he's been able to do in terms of getting a little bit of space trying to get to the ball. And he's got a sneaky sense about him that he can actually read the defenses very well, much like JSN can. So I think that's a very accurate description for sure.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Mekhi Lemon. I'm expecting big things out of him right away. I actually wouldn't be surprised if we get into a situation if a team likes him enough, he's the first receiver off the board. I think that's in play, truly.
I very much so. I think, right, like if you look at the Tyson is a question mark. Carnell Tate, the only question mark for me on Tate is the amount of reps that he actually, meaningful, actual, concrete reps that he got in terms of footage and tape. So then Lemon does seem like a good choice. I don't think you can go wrong with any of those three as your first wide receiver off the board, but ultimately, yeah.
All right, so the Bucs are an interesting team in that obviously you got a couple of team icons that are potentially on the way out, Mike Evans and Levante David. But I don't think receiver is really a need for them. And if linebacker, and obviously I think if Sonny Styles made it to this point, he'd probably be the pick. But I don't think they would go receiver because, again, you have Godwin, you have Ibuka, and you have Jalen McMillan, who was really good his first year. Not so much his second, but I don't think that's any reason to give up on him.
The kid from Oregon, too, he'll be in his second year. Was that Tez Johnson, I think?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because he had a big game against, what was it, the 49ers this season?
He's got a ton of potential, too. I wish he was able to showcase a little bit more this year. I think he did end up being injured as well. I think the whole receiving core was injured at one point. But I like what the Buccaneers have on at their wide receiver core. It's going to make Mayfield's job way easier.
Well, Kenny, I'm glad you brought up Oregon because I'm going to go with the guy who I think has a very wide pick range. I think I had him going 30 in my mock draft. I don't have him go here at 15. Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon. Because another one of their free agents is Cade Otton.
Yeah. I
don't think they're going to re-sign him, realistically. What I like about Kenyon Sadiq is he's kind of built like Jonnu Smith, Josh McDaniels, I hate you. We'll never forget. But there are some concerns about drops. I don't think it was as bad in kind of looking through him as I thought it was going to be. But he's a really good inline blocker. He's not a bad blocker out in space either. And again, he's a freak athlete. freak athlete for a tight end. I know he's only 6'3", so that might turn some people off, but I'm a fan. And I think he can add a dynamic element to just about any offense, whether it's as a downfield threat, as a guy you can just dump it off to in the flat and let him cook after the catch. But count me as a fan as Kenyon Sadiq. I'm probably going to do a formal report on him at some point as well. Very excited about that.
He's a very exciting player to watch. I love his ability to block. That's something that you're almost starting to see fade into the background for tight ends as like a requirement to be a tight end. But he is a true
Travis Kelce.
And I think that's the prototype, right? Like that's where we're like, oh, we got big slot receivers now. No. We still need the tight ends to block because we still need to have a running game in this league. That's the hill that I'll die on. But Sadiq is something else. I like his talent. I like his ability. It's the height. The height is my biggest question mark with him. And honestly, 6'3" isn't that much to scoff at. I think I'd be willing to take that risk, especially at 15. I can't really see another tight end going before that either. So I think that's a great pick.
Yeah, I know. I think it's Eli Stowers out of, I believe it's Vanderbilt. It's either Vanderbilt or Purdue. I think it's Vanderbilt, though, who is a guy people are talking about as maybe a top 50 guy, but I don't think he'd be going this high.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Now we're back to the Jets, so again have this pick because of the Sauce Gardner trade, which I don't think you can really fault Indianapolis for that. Obviously, it turned out really bad, but I don't think it's really their fault. I can give them props for at least trying there. But who we have
in the moment, I think that was a great move for the Colts. I think time will probably tell that it wasn't the best spot, but it is what it is. I'm more upset that I have to pick twice for the Jets. I think that's.
Listen, you lost the race. We did an honorable foot race, and you lost.
I was winning by 40 yards. Like I just don't get it.
Yeah, and you rested on your laurels.
I did.
The whole story. Have you ever heard about the tortoise and the hare?
I got complacent. I get it.
Exactly.
So okay, the Jets once again have so many different ways to go. Right. Again, we can talk about McDonald out of Ohio State. They need help after giving up Williams. Another trade deal that probably is going to go down terribly for the Jets. But you need a quarterback, right? You need a quarterback. We haven't really talked a lot about the quarterbacks. We've had, I think, only one go off the board so far. So in my head, this might be the perfect spot for the Jets to take a risk. Ty Simpson's available. Garrett Nussmeier is available. I would have said
list here, by the way, for now.
Right. I would have said Drew Aller in the beginning of this season, but I'm gonna reset. I'm gonna reset. I think they take the Alabama kid. I think they go after Ty Simpson in this spot.
So I had him going to the Rams in mind at 30, and that's probably the only
perfect situation. Honestly, for him, for a kid like Ty Simpson, that's a perfect spot because who are you going to sit behind? You're going to sit behind arguably one of the best quarterbacks that we have in the league. You're going to learn how to do the system, and you've got one of the better offensive minds. I hate you, Sean McVay. You have my dream job as a head coach at my age. Fuck you. I digress. So I think that'd be the perfect spot. I would love to see a guy like Ty Simpson in LA. That would be perfect. I don't see that happening in our version of this mock draft, and therefore he's going to suffer as a New York Jet for 4 years before they ultimately release him to the wild.
Again, that's my worry. My biggest fear is he goes to a team exactly like the Jets, where the coaching infrastructure is just simply not good. He doesn't really have a ton around him. Well, I mean, I guess in this case he'll have Garrett Wilson and who'd you have him taking first, Kenny? You had Arnold Reese. I was thinking about my mock. We haven't had them taking Jeremiah Love, but like coaching infrastructure is not good. They're probably going to be looking very different on the interior offensive line this year. And it's the Jets. Like, they'll fuck this up. Like, they're going to fuck
it up. Or MetLife Stadium will screw him up, too, and tear his ACL because that field is horrible. But
I didn't even think about that. Good on you, Kenny. But, I mean, like, there's, like, I scouted him. It's like, there's clearly something there. I don't think he's, like a bum. Like, he's clearly, like, I would say worst case scenario, probably a top 75 player in this draft. Again, we're talking worst case scenario. The problem is he only has the 1 year as a starter, and in that 1 year of starting, I didn't really like what I saw out of him when he was under pressure. And again, the numbers backed it up. He was not particularly good when under pressure. I think that's, and again, you put him in a team like the Jets where, again, he might have some problems up the middle.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Like it might be decided for him. I just realized that's 9-10. I did not expect this to be here this long, to be perfectly honest.
I'm a bit long-winded about my Ohio State guys. I'm sorry, Jack. A bit long-winded about Buckeye.
I'm more worried about you. I didn't know if you had anywhere to be.
That's Friday night. I'm good.
All right. Nevertheless, pick 17. Welcome to Detroit. Well, I can say the next part, but I can't do it. Interesting free agent class for them. They got Al-Qadim Muhammad, who had a very surprise 11 sack season at year 30, going into the open market. Taylor Decker, their left tackle, could be retiring. We don't know about that one just yet.
That would hurt.
And again, this is a team that was really hurt last year. But I think, again, I'm thinking safe. I'm thinking helping your strength with this offense. And I'm going to have them take the best guard in this draft. We're going to have them take Vega Ione from Penn State.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Maybe 6'5", if I'm not mistaken. Big boy. Yep. 6'4", 6'5", 328. Really good out in space is kind of the synopsis I got out of Olu Vega. Get him in, put him on the inside, and have him out in space with Penei Sewell. That'd be really fun.
If there's one thing Penn State gets right, it's their trenches. It's their offensive linemen. They do a terrific job of cultivating the talent. They do a terrific job of getting that talent to be NFL ready. I don't think you can ever go wrong. There's a lot of Penn State guys that I would not take, a lot of different skill positions that I would not trust running back.
I'm out on both of the running back.
Barkley is the outlier, don't get me wrong, but any other running back before that, oof. The offensive line in Penn State, like I would scout Happy Valley all the time to make sure I had a Penn State kind of guy. Obviously, I want an Ohio State guy, but Penn State kind of guys are the guys that you want in the trenches. They're tough. They're built right. They know what they're doing. They're smart. It's a good pick. Definitely a good pick.
And with that, we're on to the Vikings, who, by the way, shout out to Brian Flores for getting the win legally, getting that court case to, I believe, a public trial. Hope he wins that, obviously. Yeah, I think it's him. I forget the two other guys that are with him. I think Steve Wilkes might be the other notable name, and there's a third. But nevertheless, do we have someone going to his defense, or do we have someone going to Kevin O'Connell's offense here?
So I'm gonna go defense again. They need a running back. Don't get me wrong. But I'm still not ready to take a running back this high in the draft after Love is taken. So I'm gonna go corner, and I'm gonna go Delaney out of LSU. Mansour Delaney. We took
Delaney at 11.
Oh, my bad. Then I will default to Brandon Cece out of South Carolina.
So I've heard about this kid, and there are people that I know and trust that are big fans. I just don't really know a ton about him, but obviously,
he's another
BFF
one.
Has him I think they had him at 32 on their big board.
Yeah, it's a bit of a risk at this stage in the draft. But I think the Vikings need a lot of help on defense. I've heard rumblings. I'm not sure if I saw the final result of that, but it is Smith retiring. Their safety.
I imagine he is. Yeah, he's like 36. I'd be stuck.
Yeah. So he's not going to be able to fill that gap necessarily, but I like the potential. Height is, I think he's like 6 feet tall, about 190 as well. So he kind of fits into that cornerback scenario. He's able to get in space and get some tackles. My big thing is he doesn't get a lot of takeaways or forced fumbles, but that's something that you can develop. You can hopefully work on, especially with a Brian Flores type coach. So it's a risk, it's a gamble. But that's really the route that I see them going, because I would still take CC over the next available running back, which is the other kid from Notre Dame, in my opinion. So
yeah. Right now we're on to the Panthers, who again they have receiver for the Panthers. I don't think any of the skill positions on offense are a need for the Panthers, quite frankly, unless they lose Dowdle in free agency, which is not like a guarantee, but there's a chance it happens. But I'm gonna have them go with another edge rusher. They took 2 last year in the second round. And obviously they missed out on a big ticket defender last offseason. They were, again, they almost had Milton Williams. Had him 90% of the way. And then Patriots said, actually, no, you don't. And that would have been a huge move for them. But
for sure.
Here, I'm going to give them a guy who, in theory, you'd hope can get to that level of a defender. Not on the interior, but off the edge. I'm going to have them take Cassius Howell out of Texas A&M to go along with their younger edge rush group.
Like that.
Again, shorter arms, but again, motor is out of this world good. I don't think he has as good of a motor as, say, Ruben Bain, but like Ruben Bain's like top 1% ever.
Right,
right. It's like him, Will Anderson, and like everyone else. So that's not like a diss.
No, not
the
at
short
all.
arms thing kind of does worry me a little bit, not a ton. And he is a little undersized, kind of like an Arbel Reese, but go watch him versus LSU, man. He was a man-possessed.
Lights out against LSU. And I love to see that, too. I love to see anybody beat up on LSU.
Yeah, fuck you, Brian Kelly. I like LSU, but fuck Brian Kelly. Back to the Cowboys. So
what is this? I get the Jets and the Cowboys in 2 picks. All right. So
we had an honorable system, Kenny.
Now, finally, 20 picks in, right? Love is already off the board. Now is the time to take Jadarian Price. I think he may not be a good fit for the Cowboys in terms of style and play, but second best running back, in my opinion, in this draft. They are in desperate need of a running back. I'm very surprised that they have not been able to secure that over the years. So yeah, I think now is the time for Jadarian Price. Ultimately, I think it's a squandered pick. I don't think that it's a good fit. I think the Cowboys take that risk, but it's not a good fit. And he ends up finding the free agent market in about, like I said, 3 to 4 seasons and finding a better home.
Again, the important thing to remember here is you have to kind of remember that Jerry Jones is the guy making the phone call here.
Yeah,
and not someone
they can easily take a long snapper at that spot.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Pittsburgh Steelers on the clock. Again, very sneaky. They don't have it on here, but Edge could be unique. The wide 9 merchant, as we call him around these parts. Horrible year for him after getting a contract extension. Who could have seen that coming? Receiver obviously makes a ton of sense for them. I think both spots on the left side of the offensive line make a ton of sense as well because, again, it's a new coaching staff. Who knows what they think about Broderick Jones? And you have Isaac Seumalo hitting free agency. I would not expect him to come back realistically. I think he's going to have a ton of suitors. Actually, the Patriots might get him, actually. That's another story for another day. So this is another pick where I'm going to go hand-in-hand with my own mock. I'm going to have to take Caden Proctor because he gives you options. Whether it be you decide to start him at left tackle or at left guard. I think he's 6'7". He's a monster. Mechanically, he's not all the way there just yet. But I mean, you can't teach him. He's a monster.
Yeah, and he's a kid from Alabama, so you know that he's got the pedigree to get there, to be NFL ready. I don't like him at tackle, especially left tackle to start his career with, especially with so many unknowns for the Steelers in the backfield. But I think that that's a good spot for him. I think that's a good location for him to develop into into the player that I think he has the potential to become.
I agree. And again, I think he could play left tackle. I would just feel way more comfortable if he was probably a left guard.
Right. Absolutely.
All right, now we're up to the Chargers, who, I mean, they got to be thanking their lucky stars. They're getting Slater and all back at 100% next year.
Yeah.
Because good Lord, was it bad this year without them.
I mean, the Chargers were just, I mean, that whole offensive line struggled all season long, right? I think Joe Alt went down for quite a bit of time too.
Yeah, he only played 3 games.
Yeah, and that's I love Alt. I think he's a tremendous talent. I think he's got a tremendous future. I think he was my first ever scouting profile for TDT. So he's definitely in my hall of at least pretty good. So now here we are, the Chargers, right? We're worried about their offensive line. Harbaugh, I think, goes defense, and I think this is where we see another Buckeye playing for Jim Harbaugh, and I think that's where we see McDonald going finally. off the board.
Probably the best, if not the second best 0-2 tech in this draft. I'm trying to remember. And Buddy from Lee Hunter from Texas Tech is probably the other who I like a lot.
And again, that's your 1 and 1A. I'm going to take McDonald. I think that he's he's a little bit beefier. He's a little bit more stout in the gaps. He's a little bit harder to move around. And so from that position and from the type of defense that I think Harbaugh likes to play, I think he's a perfect fit. I don't know if he's an every down defensive lineman. I think he might be a little too heavy for that in the NFL. But he's definitely a run stopper. He's definitely first and second down kind of guy who's going to give you a ton of talent and a ton of heart, ton of motor. But I think you can't go wrong. And for him to fall all the way to 22, I think that would be a surprise, if I'm being honest. But it's a good spot for him at the Chargers in LA.
All right, we'll get a couple more picks in here. We'll go back to our guy, Jeff Retebny, one last time. He's going to tell you about some good car insurance. But before we do that, we got to get through the Eagles and the Browns via the Jags. Eagles, of course, they're going to be staring down both of their top tight ends going into the free agency market, as well as Jalen Phillips, who they made a swing for at the trade deadline. Had a good stint with them. I think he ended up finishing like 11th in the league in pressures on the whole. Just didn't really have a great time converting those into sacks at a high rate, which is kind of unfortunate. But I got those are three guys. If you count him, Goddard, and Calcaterra. Three guys who I think are probably top of the list of people you're going to hopefully maybe need to replace. So I'm going to go with what Howie Roseman loves to do and go off the edge. And I'm going to have them take Akeem Mesidor out of the U, who I love. I know he's 25. I know he's a little older, but this kid rocks. Again, he's not Ruben Bain. But again, he's explosive, really good bend, and he can produce. You get him in a room with a guy like a friend of the program, J.Alex Hutt. You get him in a room with a guy like Nolan Smith as a rotational piece, a high-usage rotational piece. I think he has a ton of upside. And it's not exactly like Philadelphia, where, again, they have guys on the interior that can maybe take some heat off of him. And he could be a productive, rotational guy, which is not a bad thing, especially in a place like Philly.
Not at all. Yeah, I think that really helps the organization from that standpoint. I think a ton of ability and talent gives you the, and that just shores up that defense even more, makes it even more impressive. I don't know how that defensive line can look so young at this point, but here they are. They're getting even younger and even better. And ultimately, I think that builds the foundation for what you're going to do as another Super Bowl run.
Never know. Again, we had the most unlikely Super Bowl ever this year. You never know.
Exactly.
And now we are back to the Browns, who I think in a perfect world would have probably wanted a receiver here. There are some that they could take, but obviously, again, offensive line is probably still at the top of the
right. So it's at this point, right? I think now if you take a wide receiver, which you probably needed earlier. So again, do we start talking about potentially moving up the ladder to try and get to that wide receiver? Do we talk about maybe now trading down to wait for a lineman? But in the world that we live in, right, the Browns stay locked in at 24. And I think this is where I like my guy out of Georgia Tech, Kalen Rutledge. I think he is a tremendous talent. I think he's like 6'4", 6'5", over 300 pounds. He is a mountain of a man. I know he's probably way down on this list. I'm not seeing it. There it is right there. Way, way down. But listen, I get it. I get the ranking. I understand that. And again, I would trade down. If I'm Cleveland, I want
Kenny, stand for something. Stand for something, baby. I'm talking about.
I like this guy. I think he's got a ton of upside. I think he's got an ability to run block, which you need for Quinshon Judkins, which you need for the rest of those running backs. And quite frankly, he's going to do a decent job in the beginning, and he's going to develop into that prototype guard for you to keep whoever they have at quarterback upright. I don't know. I don't want to pretend to know what they're doing in Cleveland, but at least Rutledge gives you the future potential to get there, to keep your quarterback upright.
And again, run. And what you're going to be doing, you're going to be running to our guy, Jeff Ortepney, because he's going to be giving you some of the craziest rates you've ever seen in your entire life on car insurance.
Here's to the grown-ups. Your car is now your office, stage, nursery. Sorry, Erie Insurance offers products that lots of other companies don't. That's a big deal, and it's a good deal, too. And with Erie, you get your own independent agent, not a giant corporate call center or some online robot. You meet with a real person, like this.
Your local Erie agent is Building Block Insurance Group. Get a quote today at 704-464-4544.
Erie Insurance.
How about that, Jeff Ortepney, man? What a guy. What a salesman. Incredible.
Gotta love
And
it. Gotta love it.
now we're on the Chicago Bears. Chicago, man. You know.
Oh, Chicago sucks. But you see,
Ooh.
I was waiting for that all night. Shout Scott Steiner forever.
That's a tough soundbite for a Chicago one, let me tell you.
That is its soundbite, which is the best part. Nevertheless, anyway, I think Chicago defensively, I'm thinking edge and then the D line. Safety could be potentially a need here because, again, who knows what happens with Jaquan Brisker, who's I just found out like today he's a free agent. I did all my research earlier this week. I had no idea he was a free agent up until like today.
Yeah,
So-
I'm not sure what Ryan Poles is thinking on that one, how you don't lock him up immediately.
I think it's the injury history probably.
All the positive things that he's been able to do in our backfield in
No,
Chicago.
I agree. When he's out there, he's awesome.
I'm taking that risk. I think he's got to, and you got to take care of your guys. And I think he's one of those, again, he's a great leader. I know this isn't the time for a Brisker fan fest, but yeah, I think the Bears are making a mistake if they let him really, really walk.
But I wanted to do this because this is the guy I'm interested in because I had him going 18th to the Vikings in my own mock. I'm gonna have him go 25 to the Bears here. This is someone who I believe Dane Brugler of The Athletic had recently ranked 31st in his big board, his top 50 big board. A guy who I've since seen over the last couple of days and am now a big fan of. Emmanuel McNeil Warren, safety out of Toledo. This kid is a big-time playmaker down in the box. I think he has a ton of potential in just making plays around the ball, especially around the line of scrimmage as a bigger safety. Yes, you could maybe give him the knock to play at a max school, but as the older I get, especially as you see guys like Quinn Myers came from a D3 school like Wisconsin Whitewater, I'm trying to think of another good example. Again, David Johnson for the longest time, who was a really good running back, Northern Iowa. Like
Your favorite quarterback is a MAC quarterback, right? Ben Roethlisberger.
Oh no! Shut the fuck up! Shut up! Shout out Joey Porter Jr. Man, I've never said a bad thing about him in my life ever. Probably, I don't know. Yeah, fuck Ben Roethlisberger. Nevertheless,
there we go. But yes, I do not discount anybody coming out of the MAC conference. I think that is one of the superior mid-level conferences. I think that they have a ton of, it reminds me of Utah and Boise State. Like they go after the guys that are hungry. They go after the guy. Maybe they're a 3-star, maybe they're a 2-star recruit, and they prove themselves. They got that chip on their shoulder, and that's exactly what you get out of this guy from Toledo. I think he is. He would be a great pick. I would love to see him in Chicago. I don't think I'd like to see him that high. I think, again, talking trade moves, I'd like to see the Bears move down to wait for him a little bit. But if he's there, it'd be hard to pass on him. Although they do need help on the defensive line. It's just I don't know what's available at 25 for them. But yeah, I could see that being a good pick.
let me ask you this since we're here. What's your best offer off rip for Max Crosby? If you're the Chicago Bears.
Oh man. Still a little PTSD from the Khalil Mack deal. Still a lot of PTSD from the Jay Cutler deal. I don't like the idea of trading draft capital, but I think where we're at in the world, where we can start saying we're going to be mid to a little bit lower in the draft, hopefully, I would probably offer I'd offer 2 1s, a 2, and DJ Moore. Is probably what I would end up throwing at the Raiders to try and to steal a guy like Crosby. And I know that doesn't on paper look like a great deal for the Raiders, but that's about all I could muster up to try and make that happen.
I think that's fair. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up getting dealt. It would involve a player going back to the Raiders, but and again, like not. I don't think the Raiders are in a position to where they should be like scoffing at DJ Moore. He's a guy who could definitely give them some value.
No, and I like DJ Moore. He's had a.
Chicago sucks. But you see,
I like DJ Moore. I think that he, however you want to spin it, maybe he gave up on that route towards the end of that playoff game. Whatever the case may be.
For the love of God, do not get Bruce going on that.
I think at the end of the day, the Bears receiving core is getting infinitely better as we continue to discuss, right? You got Adunze, who's going to be a real talent in the NFL. You've got other guys coming along very nicely. I think you're at a position where maybe Moore was a central piece to getting down the road, and now you can use him as that trade bait where he'll be a good player for the Raiders. I just, if you look at that last play and you get hung up on that last play, that deal would never work. If that's what the Raiders look at over and over and over again, that's a no-go on the deal. But hopefully they would look at more of the resume and less of the final act, so to speak.
Now, we move on now to the Buffalo Bills. Again, it cannot be overstated just how fucking insane the start of their offseason has been with the power play that Brandon Beane pulled off. I don't think I'll ever forget that press conference with him and Pagula, like in my entire life. That was so bizarre. Like I thought my eyes were gonna pop out when they were talking about Keon Coleman.
Yeah, right. I mean, you're in a position with the Bills where you made a slight playoff run, right? You ended up firing McDermott as a result of that playoff run, but then you look at a team that got into their playoff position needing a ton of help in the offseason. I can't think of there's only a few teams that I can really argue may need something more than the Bills, because right now you're holding on to Josh Allen being the centerpiece of this entire team, with a big question mark at head coach, with a big question mark at almost, I don't want to say all of your skill positions, but quite a few skill positions. So where do you go?
I think they're going to tight end and running back, but receiver definitely.
Okay, yeah, I'm fine. You're okay at tight end. You're okay to better at running back, which is why I default to wide receiver at the 26th spot. It makes some sense. I like the kid out of Washington. I think it is
Denzel Ball. Oh baby.
Yes. I like Denzel Boston a lot. I like it at the 26th spot where I was hesitant a few picks earlier to go wide receiver. Now at 26, now in Buffalo with Josh Allen, I like this Boston kid. I like him a lot. I think he's got a ton of upside, and he's worth that risk at the later stages of the first round.
I know there's some people lower on Denzel Boston, and I don't want to say I'm like the highest on him ever, but I mean he's 6'4", crazy good catch radius. Really good.
He's a bigger guy too. He's a big target. He's streaky. I'll give you that. He's streaky. One game he'll get over 100 yards receiving, couple tutties. Next game he's down in the 50s in terms of receiving yards. Still not a bad day at the office to get 50 yards. But he's streaky. He can either be the best thing that Washington had, or he's a mid-tier talent. And at the end of the day, if you're in the 26th spot, you're looking to shore up your wide receiving core. This might be the Bills might be that team that shoots up the draft to go after a guy like Carnell Tate, to go after a guy like Lemon. But here they are. Our purposes, we're at 26. Boston's available. I go Boston here.
He's probably my number 5 receiver, I'd probably say at this point. But I don't think he'd be a bad pick as a first round guy, because again, you don't find guys with his size metrics like all that often. You just don't.
No, he's a unique specimen of a receiver. I would like to see him maybe work on his catching a little bit and work on his initial step a little bit. But once he gets all of that lined up, it's going to be amazing to watch him in the NFL.
All right, now we're on to the 49ers, who just somehow just kept on trudging along. They just survived, and they somehow just made it to the divisional round with like half the roster on IR. Just somehow, some way. I'm gonna go with interesting pick. I'm not super high on this guy because I don't think I don't think he's a particularly flexible edge rusher. But again, considering they took a guy somewhat of this ilk last year, I think they might be interested again. And a guy that I love, by the way, Mykel Williams. I'm gonna have the 49ers take Keldrick Falk out of Auburn.
Okay.
I don't hate the idea of them going edge again, just because again Bosa and Williams got hurt. And again, hypothetically, if you have him, Bryce Huff, Bootstraps Bosa, and then Mykel Williams, I feel good enough about that as a core four on the edge. And hypothetically, Falk's a bigger guy. I think it's closer to like 280, I want to say. Yeah, exactly, 285.
285.
You might be able to kick him inside on some pass downs. You want to have him as a smaller defensive tackle. He's still a huge guy, but like,
and on the pass rush, that'd be perfect. Obviously, you don't want him stopping up the gaps on a run type situation, but if we're in third and long or even second and long, knowing that it's going to be a passing play, I think that's a perfect spot for him.
Exactly. I believe now we're on to the final 5 picks, and we're on to the Houston Texans, who potentially could be looking at losing their starting right guard, Ed Ingram, this offseason. I believe Sheldon Rankins, another notable free agent for them as well. And hopefully, man, for them, I hope they get Tank Dell back, because he is one of the most fun receivers to watch in the entire league when he's out there.
100%.
Of course, missed all of this year. It was devastating. Who knows what their ceiling is this year if they have him. They might have made it the Super Bowl if they had him. To be quite frank, I think the world of Tank Dell.
I do too, and I think everything's going right for Houston. I mean, right now the roster on paper, it's looking a little scary for them at the moment, but I think in terms of how the organization is moving forward, in terms of what they're doing on the field for the most part is amazing. CJ Stroud needs to start, I don't know what the word is, demonstrating what he was able to do in his rookie campaign. I'm still happy with his output. I know a lot of fans are starting to question it, starting to wonder if he's really the guy for the Houston Texans, but I think he is. I think, Houston, give him another season, especially if you can keep him upright, you're going to be very happy. And that's why, I know we're talking guards. I know we're talking a lot of different potential issues going on, but I like the center. I like the center out of Auburn for this. I think it's Connor Lew.
I believe I know who you're talking. I think I heard about him. Yeah, here he is, right here, 65th overall. A guy who I could definitely see if he had a good combine. I think it's super indicative of who he is. Plus, it's PFF, so it's like,
yeah. So he's right now. I think his measurements are just over 6 feet tall, right around 300 pounds. So he's not the biggest, not the bulkiest. Fine, I get it. But from the footage that I've seen, from the tape that I've seen, he looks like he's got that real raw potential. And again, Connor's going to love this, but you can't really go wrong with an SEC type lineman. I would like to have seen him in the Big Ten, but he's a good dude. He's strong. He'll be a great run blocker. He'll be able to help keep CJ Stroud upright. I also don't know if I put him at center right away either. Maybe you move him to one of the guard positions just to get him used to the NFL before you put him back into center. You do that a lot in the NFL. The interior offensive line moves around quite frequently, especially within the first 4 years of their career. So I think that's a good utility type lineman for the Houston Texans.
So at 29 here for the good old Los Angeles Rams. Let's get freaky. But they're really freaky. I know their D-line's really good. Why not make it even better? Why not give them Peter Woods at 29?
Ooh, I don't hate that.
A guy, the very first game I scouted from, I forget who they were playing. It might have been Vanderbilt, if I'm not mistaken. He was basically a full-time edge rusher, and I was like, how is this working? Like, he wasn't getting sacks. Like, he got a few pressures, but like, this is a guy you can line up legitimately everywhere on the offensive line. Probably not as a wide 9 or even at 7 tech, but 5-0, he gives you a ton of options. My big thing with him is I would want to see him be more of a finisher in the pass, but like his pass rush win metrics are really good. He's really good against the run. And he's a really stocky big guy. I think I may have written this down in my report on him. Poor man's Jalen Carter is kind of the vibe I got out of watching him.
Actually, I like that comp. I like that a
Which
lot.
is not like a diss at all. Again, Jalen Carter is one of the best defensive tackles in the entire league.
100%. So when we're talking a poor man, like that's still a very elite type rusher at that point. I like that a lot.
Hello?
Yep. Oh, I think I froze. Did I freeze?
Yeah,
Nope,
you did freeze for a second. I got very nervous.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I got very nervous there for a second.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, he's a great rusher. He'll be a great facilitator on that defense. He'll be able to, even if we are saying poor man, right, we're still talking about an elite-ish type defensive end, defensive rusher, which at the 29 spot for the Rams is perfect. You can take that risk I like that in the last 8 picks. We can take a little bit of a risk, a little bit of gamble on these guys because you know that you've got wiggle room on this. So I like that move a lot.
But you can never have too many good guys up on the defensive front. Never.
Never.
Peter Woods classifies as that. And he gives you options. Plenty of them. 3 picks to go on to the Broncos who, listen, I'm just going to get this out later right now. When that notification hits first day of free agency, when they give Taysom Hill $25 million a year, Kenny, that might be the greatest day of my life.
Sure.
That's 1,000% going to happen.
I hope not for that much, but I guess I can see that happening. But for the sake of not understanding what is about to hit the free agent market, the Broncos are going to need another weapon to get Bo Nix to get him the ball out. Again, I'm not super high on this running back class. I'm sorry, I just don't see it as one of the best running back classes. I'm gonna shift over to the tight ends, and once again, surprise, I'm going scarlet and gray. I'm going to go Max Clare.
Yes,
I think
sir.
Max Clare at about 6'4", 240-ish range. I think he gives you a lot of options. I think we're
really
talking like, yeah, he's a great blocker, right? So we're talking like Sadiq a little bit. He's actually, in my opinion, a better blocker than Sadiq. He needs to work a little bit on his catching ability and a little bit on the getting out and open ability. But why he came to Ohio State was to work on that skill set, to get better at that skill set. And he improved if you look at tape from Purdue and then you look at the tape from Columbus this season, you see a marked improvement every step of the way. And again, at 30, I'm liking to take risks. I'm willing to make that move for a Max Clare type. And I think that's a good landing spot. I'm not happy with the running backs right now, so I would default to my tight end choice at Max Clare.
Fair enough. With the last pick for me, I'm going to go and finish it off with a different pick than what I did in my own mock. I'm going to go with a guy who I'm a big fan of, who was a big part of the national champion Indiana Hoosiers, and might be my number 4 receiver in this entire class. I'm going to take him here at 31 for the Patriots, Omar Cooper Jr.
Ooh, I like that.
Who was a big-time producer. Again, made that unreal catch in that the Penn State comeback win, which I think a decent chunk of the country saw. This kid is a really good route runner, really good after the catch, tough, again, has winning pedigree. Again, who knows what happens in the receiver room? Again, obviously, Stephon Diggs could be gone. I think they could cut him and save like $18 million a year if they want to move on a year early. And again, I think
at that point,
can never have too many good receivers. And he's a guy I'm at least interested in. I think, again, tackle's an option for them, edge is an option for them. But let's kind of mix it up here. Shuffle the deck here a little bit, if you will. And now we're on to the champs, the Seattle Seahawks, who have basically their entire starting secondary going into free agency.
Yeah, that gets to be tricky, right? You think of the champs as typically when we think of the Super Bowl champs, it's like, well, do we need to worry about that much? Well, now, you had this, I forget what they were called, the dark zone or something like that. There was dark side. It was very good. It was awesome. Everything that you'd expect. I was kind of expecting McNeil Warren to be available at this spot for them.
He would have been horrifying here.
Right, exactly. That's why I was really getting excited for that. But here we are. You got some options. You almost don't know where to go, and I think that's why a lot of times you see the 32 spot end up trading out of the first round is because there's what do we do now, right? We're already the champs. We already have a lot of things to kind of shore up. I also, they do need a little bit of help on the offensive line, but I'm going to stick with defense just for the sake of this argument. Um, yeah, I guess I'll go safety, and we'll go. I'm going to take a bit of a flyer on Kamari Ramsey out of USC.
Kamari Ramsey is the guy that I was looking at after the Senior Bowl.
I mean, and he's good. He's a lot of talent. He's every season he produces a little bit more. 2024 was his best season. I think he had.
Oh my God, we earned an award, Kenny.
I'm sorry?
We earned an award on the PFF gimmick.
There we go. But yeah, I think again, right? Apparently, the mantra for me tonight is: do we trade or do we not trade? We're not going to trade for the first mock draft, and so at that point, I think you see them going after the Ramsey out of USC. I think it's a smart-ish move, a bit of a gamble, a bit of a risk, but ultimately, if you need to shore up your defense quickly, he'll at least be able to be a stopgap until you can find what you need.
I agree. He's a guy who I think is probably going to have a good combine, but we'll have to wait and see on that. We got 2 more weeks to that. But that is going to do it for us tonight. We'll see you again next week. Hopefully we'll have our guy Side back. And actually, before we get out, it's Daytona 500 week, Kenny.
Yeah.
Kyle Busch on the pole with Chase Briscoe alongside. Who are you liking this week?
Daytona to me has always been it doesn't really matter who's the pole sitter. It doesn't really matter who is the front runner after the first couple of stages. So, give me Logano. I'll take Logano.
Fully bald. The scary sight, that man fully bald.
Yeah,
He's in the booth right after the trucks race, which is coming to 11 to go right now.
I think he said he's aerodynamic now, so I can appreciate the.
Nope. Don't encourage him. Nope.
Yeah, no, and really, it's anybody's race. Daytona to me is anybody's race. It's one of the few American races where you can sit there and say somebody can come from as far as 16th back and make a true run and win the whole thing because of the restrictor plates and all that fun stuff. But yeah, I'll take Logano on Friday night.
I feel like there's no worse outside of there being a 3P for William Byron, who I don't hate. It's just like he wins. It's like, whatever.
Yeah.
Austin Dillon winning is clearly the worst option here, right? Has to be. What
I don't
like
hate him
having a car? Have you seen his car? He's basically the Kevin Harvick like silver Goodwrench car.
Okay.
He's basically running that. Him having a car that looks that good should be illegal. Him winning this race once, let alone twice, would be terrible. Give me Kyle Busch. If it's not now, it's never. You know what I mean? Like, listen, 20 years.
I wouldn't hate seeing that, but out of the pole position, you almost. I mean, I am not as big of a NASCAR fan as the next person, but how many pole position winners do we have in the Daytona 500?
That is a great question. Actually, I would love to know that. Just offer it. But I guess we'll say that for next week when the race ends up being terrible, and we won't talk about it at all next week.
There you go.
But thank you guys for showing up once again. Like and subscribe on the YouTube gimmick if you're there. We do appreciate you chatting with us for close to 2 hours tonight. It wasn't really expected, but again, thank you guys as always. Yes, and we'll see you next week. But we're gonna give you one last little notice here from our friends over at Erie Insurance.